Hi, this is only my second watch along, and we're continuing exactly like yesterday with the Challenge Mallorca in this watch along. Um, s- from what I see, I think it's going to be similar start list. From the last race, you still have the big names, such as you have Julien Alaphilippe, you have Brandon McNulty in UAE with Team Wallens, and with Bora still with a very strong team, like their previous races in the Challenge Mallorca with Buchmann, Conrad, Oijbrooks, and so on. Then you have Cofidis again with Guillaume Martin, most likely be their leader, even though he hasn't really been there in any of the races so far. So there's a chance that it would fall on Irada or Simon Geschke would probably be the leader. EF will probably be Hugh Carthy. Intermarché will the leader will most likely be Main Keys and Arkes Samsic, Barguil, and so on. And then there's all the Conti Pro teams that I don't think they'll have much chance to win today. Even though yesterday there was huge surprises with a lot of Continental Pro teams doing quite well, doing top tens. So we'll see today. Today, the finish could really be for either, I think it could be really much for either climbers or sprinters. It all depends on how it goes on the big mountain, whether the peloton attacks, the climbers attack. But if it's kind of very passive, if it's very passive, then I think the sprinters could win if they can hold on to the peloton to the top of the climb. And right now, they're about halfway through the race right now. There's not showing live feed right now yet, so I can't really talk much about it. But I think I'm going to only do the watch alongs for these races, for the Challenge Mallorca and possibly La Marseillaise race tomorrow. I'm not going to do the Vuelta San Juan watch along for a few reasons. One, because it's not as entertaining in a way that it's just mostly flat. And also, there's already been 4 or 5 stages in, and I don't want to just make a watch along and this race already be halfway there. I want to start with the first stage and the beginning of a race. It feels a lot more natural that way. So yeah, as I said, tomorrow I'll most likely do La Marseillaise, and then after that I'll start with La Vuelta a Comunidad, starting I think on Tuesday. Yeah, I think it's Tuesday it starts, so I'll do those watch longs as much as I possibly can, but Tuesday I will be able to do it. And so from all this, from what I've noticed, at least from last race, also significantly was all these big riders that you'd think would just destroy everyone else did very badly. You have Julien Alaphilippe, who wasn't, to be honest, didn't exist in any of these Mallorca challenges. You have got Brandon McNulty, you got Team Wallens. The only one who's kind of was there was probably Buchmann. And if you, I don't know if you count Oijbrooks as a big rider yet, but he's a rider with a lot of potential. He did quite well yesterday, even though I don't think he finished in the top 10. I have to check that. But he did very well in the breakaway yesterday. Well, we'll see if he's going to be in the breakaway today. I don't, I, d- I don't think that'll be a wise idea because from yesterday we can clearly see that Bora and Quickstep, who were by far the favorites in terms of the teams to win the race yesterday, got the tactics completely wrong. Completely wrong. And enabled these smaller teams, these pro Conti teams, to actually get very good results. A few of these Conti pro teams actually got top tens, which I was surprised with. I think we're finally getting a live feed of the race right now. Finally, and from what I see, the peloton is broken up this climb. I think there's a strong attack happening in the peloton up this climb. Lots of riders are being dropped, loads and loads, but most of them are pro Contis. There's a Movistar rider. Everyone's wearing their gilets. To be honest, it has been raining quite heavily over there for the past couple of days, so probably explains a lot of the fact that all these big teams and these favorites haven't performed very well. It's been terrible conditions, to be honest. So it kind of evens the playing field, I'd say. Yeah, there's an attack happening with in the peloton, and it's mostly Conti Pro teams. You've got Lotto Destiny attacking with Intermarché. Oh, but the peloton is trying to catch them up with a UAE rider right now. Yeah, it doesn't. This climb does seem quite treacherous. But for me, if I'd say my favorite for this race, I would easily. To be honest, I can't really say easily. I don't know who would win. Who's going to win? I can't say because all these big riders, favorites, have completely like didn't perform well at all in the past couple races. So I'm not sure that any of these leaders will do well. Favorites, especially with these terrible conditions. But I will say um, it's difficult. I'll probably go for Menkes just because he's probably my favorite rider right now in this race. Louis Menkes. Right now, the pellet there's been a small group that has been finally been able to detach themselves from the peloton. There's about five riders, I think, that have detached from the peloton. You have two Lotto Destiny teams. Sorry, they've all these changes of um, sponsors have been confusing me quite a lot this season. Well, past few weeks with Sudal Quickstep, I think they're called now. Sudal Quickstep, and then Lotto Destiny, and also the kits have also changed a lot this season. Ineos's kit just looks exactly like Bahrain Victorious's kit, which I thought was a terrible idea to do because whenever you see the Ineos now, you just think of Bahrain. You get easily confused between the two. So yeah, there's been a small group that has detached themselves from the peloton up this climb. It's not showing how many kilometers left of the race there is, but if I had to say, looking at the profile of the race as well, not sure. I'd say around 40 plus kilometers, somewhere around there, 40 kilometers away. As I think they're nearing the top of this climb. But I think Look to Destiny here can easily grab a win here. They got third place yesterday. Got a podium, which for me was shocking. I would never have thought that they'd even get a top five, maybe not even a top 10. So for Lotto Destiny to get a podium was crazy. But to be honest, as I mentioned previously, there was huge upsets yesterday, especially with Kobe Gosans, who actually won from the breakaway yesterday, which was even after Julien Lefilippe tried and Quickstep tried to attack and push on with the peloton. That was for me. I I was just shell shocked after that. I couldn't understand what was happening in the peloton yesterday. I think so far from this race, things are quite normal, but not as bizarre as yesterday's race. You have you got a few riders from the peloton that are trying to reach this um, breakaway. You've got one UAE rider. You have that's now joined this group. Another few other riders, so you can see they're trying to join. I think to reach this group here. I think one of them is Oijabrooks. I believe one is Oijabrooks. So if you can get back onto this group, you have done an amazing job yesterday and today. Especially, how old is Oijabrooks? Is he like 18, 19? I'm going to go check. Oijabrooks. He's very young. He's 19. Yeah, he's 19. He is a menace. When I play Pro Cycling Manager, after a few seasons into the game, the main rider I'm always afraid of in the game is Oijabrooks because he has just so much potential. And I think in real life, he also has a lot of potential to be fighting in like next 2 years, could be even maybe even fight for podiums of Grand Tours, maybe even more, maybe competing with Remco Evenepoel or Pogacar in the next 3 years. Yeah, I think he's trying to join this breakaway group here. I think they've just reached the top of the climb. Looks like they're going downhill now. What I just found out a few minutes before starting this was that the finish is actually on an uphill. Like only I think the last 100 meters is on like a 10% gradient. So that could be very interesting if they're like sprinters. The more punchy sprinters would win. But then if it's just climbers, it's the one who still really has the energy left. I think they're going to be the ones that are going to succeed. So still really up to anyone here between anyone in this small breakaway group and the other group right behind them that are trying to reach them with Oijabox and so on. But as I mentioned, I think with Oijabox again, I don't know, I'm talking a lot about him, but just that I feel like he can be hope, I guess, really a hope to beat Pogacar because if he doesn't live up to his potential, I think Pogacar can just control the sport and just win everything for the next 10 years. And with maybe the one or two off times where he finishes on the podiums or even at worst top five. But he's like kind of a hope to try and beat Pogacar or at least be a competition to Pogacar because Pogacar is his only competition right now is Vingegaard. And I'm not 100% sure yet that he's going to be as consistent as Pogacar. So we that's why I'm really pressing on Oijabox to, I guess, be at least at the same level as Pogacar. So then there'd be at least some kind of fight, I guess. Because as I mentioned in my previous live, also, I think the Tour de France is this year, or really any time, hasn't really been as entertaining because of Pogacar. And therefore, I think the Giro d'Italia is actually more entertaining to watch because that's you don't have the Pogacars, the Vingegaards, and so on. You've got the smaller, well, not smaller, but the other great GC riders that can actually where there will actually be competition where you have like five or six people who can potentially win the race instead of just one or two, maybe even more than five or six, maybe even 10. And also, one big thing about this season is Roglic. We really have no idea what form he's going to be in, as well as Bernal. We have no idea Bernal and Roglic's form. I'm expecting Roglic to be in much better form than Bernal, significantly more, but we'll see. Anyway, back to this race. Oijabox is still in this small group. They're chasing this breakaway, this leading group ahead of the race. The gap seems between these two groups seems to stay the same, being quite constant. So I can't really tell if they're going to manage to get up to this group or not. There's the same rider from Lotto Destiny right now that is pulling this breakaway group here, this leading group, still pulling them. The UAE rider is at the very back with the EF Education teammate. This race could quite very much go be as weird as yesterday's race. To be honest, these races at the beginning of the season, even Santos tore down under last week and so on, the results really haven't been what we'd expected. I'd say in general. I guess it's like kind of still preseason almost, so all these uh, big GC climbers or sprinters, so on, have had quite a long break or have quite recently just gone back on the bike. But from what I've seen on Strava during this preseason, I think a lot of these big riders, a lot of big riders, I've been following David Godu, I've been following Sivakov, I've been following Caruso, and much more Barguil. They seem to have actually been doing some decent training, some very hard training, even during preseason. So I'm kind of have a strange feeling. I don't know why they aren't performing well in this race. Might be the conditions because it's just raining and it's freezing cold. So might be the conditions. But there's a rider that just broke out from the breakaway group here. Can't really see who it is. It's he's wearing a gilet, so I can't really see who's the one who just broke away from the breakaway. But yeah, the Lotto Destiny riders are still pulling on the breakaway. Sorry, that's what I was trying to say. Trying to catch this rider that I still don't know. I think it's a Intermarché rider from what I can see from his helmet and his bike. White, like very bright neon yellow and black. Yeah, he's being caught by the breakaway from the Lotto Destiny rider here. That's pulling the breakaway. Yeah, he's being caught back up. What I also found quite strange about this season were the transfers. This year, the transfers were just all over the place. This year, you had Miguel Angel Lopez dropping to third division cycling, which I can understand why, to some extent. You know, he's terrible professional in terms of like his character, his personality. He's very, very toxic character, so not many teams want him. Quintana apparently is quite similar. It's kind of like a yes. Apparently, from what I've been hearing and reading, he's quite an arrogant character. So when he was at Arkea, so I can understand somewhat why he doesn't have a team yet. He's free agent, but they're such big cyclists. They could do podiums in Grand Tours. Yet one of them is in third division cycling. He will never be in Grand Tour this year, at least. I don't know if he's going to go back up into World Tour anytime soon. And Quintana, who just destroyed his career last year by doing an illegal move or an illegal thing, I guess, in during the Tour de France. Just destroyed his career then. So now he can't even find a team that would want him. Especially now you've got all these new young riders now that a lot of the teams want to sign. And Quintana's getting quite old, so there's not many teams that would be willing to spend a lot of money on him as well. Yeah, going back to this race is going the rain. Oh my god! Just in the last couple of minutes, 1 or 2 minutes now, it's pouring down rain. This could affect the situation in the peloton far back, as well as the breakaway at the very front. You have some crashes, maybe. There weren't any crashes yesterday, even though the conditions were as bad, if not even worse, than they are today. Which probably was the reason why Kirby Gosens actually was able to win the race yesterday from the breakaway. But here, showing the breakaway back again. This, I've kind of enjoyed these challenge Mallorca races quite a lot because they're kind of punchy. They're not exactly pure mountains, which sometimes they're fun in more like stage races. In stage races and grand tours, big mountain climbs are fun. But in these like 1 day races, I much prefer punchy races where it goes up and down with like severe um, uphill gradients and severe downhill. Oh, there's an attack here from the breakaway here. EF Education rider here is trying to break away. But one or two riders, as well as a Lotto Destiny rider as well, has been able to join him and break his attack. Who would that EF Education rider be? Might be Hugh Carthy. Might be Hugh Carthy. We can't see his number on the back, so can't be sure, but looks like it can be Hugh Carthy. And then that would be a nice surprise to finally have a favorite to actually do well. To be honest, and also Australia, talking about Hugh Carthy, are doing very well. It's only been just literally 2 weeks of the season. They've some very good riders. They're very this year and in the future as well. They're gonna be strong country. They've always been really. Just reminding with Michael Matthews in the past, Richie Ports. Oh, and here the Lotto Destiny rider is trying to tell the fellow teammates to start pulling on the group here. He doesn't want to do all the job. Oh, and I think Ojabox is done. I don't think he'll be able to make it. I think he's popped there. That's sad to see. To be honest, the conditions are terrible. But to be honest, it does. Well, you can see snow where they are. I think it must be quite. The altitude must be quite high if there's still snow. There's snow here. Oh, there's an attack again here. Attack going on from a quick step rider at the front of the race. But the Lotto Destiny rider is still able to just wipe the attack away. Swipe away. Who is this Lotto Destiny rider? Can't be the same one as yesterday, who finished third. Because he's been doing a lot of the job here. Oh, another attack from another quick step rider. Jesus, they're just piling on the attacks here in this race right now. But followed easily by an Intermarché, and all the others are now joining him. So another failed attack up a small little ramp. Now, it's going to be very dangerous downhill now. it's just hailing at this point. Jesus Christ. Are they going to neutralize the race at this point? It is storming. Jesus. It is storming. Oh, jeez. And they're going downhill. Oh, this is really where it might be won by the downhill riders at this point. Downhill specialist here. It's snowing. Or is it hailing? It is definitely worse weather now than it was yesterday. Jesus Christ. I think it's hailing from the looks of it. That's dangerous. Um, I won't be totally surprised if they neutralize this race. I'd be upset, but I definitely wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, Ojabrooks now. He's going at 1 mile an hour down this hill, man. He is not. He doesn't feel safe at all. He's far behind, I think. He, Jesus, he's not safe going down this. Well, no riders right now are safe going down here. Then the front of the race here. It's an Intermarché person who's not wearing his gilet at this weather. That's nice to see. Finally, I can distinguish who it is. My God, I'm just speechless with how terrible the weather is in this race, man. It is deadly. Finally, we're getting a few stats right now. We're 14 kilometers away from the finish. Don't know why it took so long for them to add those stats. So it's mostly downhill from here. I'm just gonna check. It's practically just downhill from here, with then flat for about 5+ kilometers, and then uphill for about 100 to 200 meters to the finish line. It's gonna be a small group finish, definitely. To be honest, this peloton got just destroyed from the very beginning the because as soon as live started, and yeah, peloton just got exploded, and now it's just so many just small groups spread around all around this race. But you've got the front group of about 8, 9 riders here. Quick Step, Intermarché have a couple riders. You've got UAE. You've got Lotto Destiny with a rider. You've got EF Education. I think that's still Hugh Carthy. And you've got a little group just right behind them that looks like they can catch up with them. I think it's the group that Ojabrooks was in before, but just couldn't hold on to because of how dangerous this downhill was. Didn't feel safe Ojabrooks going down this hill. Oh Jesus! Look at all those hairpins. That is not nice. That's not gonna be nice. It could be some big splits here going down here with all these hairpins. To be honest, it looks very nice on camera and like the view from the helicopter, those hairpins like that. But for the riders, it's going to be hell. Yeah, that small group, I think, have just joined the front group here. But Oysterbox is far behind, I think. Probably have been caught up by the peloton, if there even still is a peloton at this rate. Have I been wrong this whole time? To be honest, yeah, I might have been wrong this whole time. So it's very difficult to notice, but I think I might have been wrong this whole past half an hour since it started this. I'm confused with what's happening here. From what I can see, at least, is that I'm just sorry. I'm just very confused, and I'm worried I might have gotten this all wrong in terms of who's leading the race. But I think there's the EF Education rider from that leading group. I think that has escaped. I don't know who it is, but to be honest, there's riders all over the road, all over this race. It's very hard to, if I don't have commentating, it's very hard to understand who's where in this race because it's just spread out all over the place. 10 kilometers exactly left of this race. It looks like there's going to be, again, a few Conti Pro riders that are going to do a top 10. You've got Eolo Cometa that are doing quite well. Lotto Destiny that are now a Conti Pro team are one of the best teams right now in this race again, like yesterday. With two riders at the front. At least that's what I think. To be honest, I still don't know what's going on, who's leading this race. But Jesus, it is steep going down this. They're going very fast, though. This race could be done very quickly. Well, riders, I think I've kind of arrived finally at the bottom of. Yeah, they've arrived finally at the bottom of the climb, and now going through the thing right now in the race. They're going through quite the flat stage. They're quite and about 8 kilometers time, they're gonna reach the bottom of that little punch up to the finish line. Oh, something's happened. to the quick step rider. He's probably having a he had a puncture, so I'm guessing he's gonna have a change of wheels. I'm very sorry. Without commentating, it's very difficult to understand who is who and who's where. But from what I can tell and what I think, the leading group is this small group of around 10 riders. 10 riders or so, with two Lotto Destiny riders. You have few Intermarché riders, a couple, the two UAE riders, a quick step rider, and that's about it. Arriving at the 7 kilometer mark here, left to go. It's just flat, really, for the next 6.5 kilometers. So while they're on this bit more flat area, even though there could be attacks that might happen just before the climb, because I think I can see some riders in this leading group pushing quite heavily in the front of this group. But whilst they're on this flat area, I just want to say that if you guys were wondering, my favorite team is Bahrain. Bahrain victorious. That's mostly because of one rider, Mikel Landa, which, as I said, if I mentioned in my previous live, I just I really like him, but he gets on my nerves, I guess, as a Mikel Landa fan, at how just inconsistent this person is. He can like one day compete with the likes of Pogacar and so on his on his best day he can do that. But then the day after he could be dropped at after just 1 kilometer of climbing. It's I don't understand how someone can be so inconsistent, but there are probably many things I just don't know about his psyche or how he rides or whatever. Maybe just be like someone who just is very good on one day. So but to be honest, I can't really say much. He did get third in the Giro last year, so probably one of his best performances, I'd say, since he was he on the podium in the Tour de France or was he fourth a couple years ago? I think he was fourth because Enric Mas was third. I can't remember if Mikanda was third or fourth, and if Enric Mas was ahead or behind him in that year. It was the year where Pogacar won the first Tour de France, and Roglic was second. I can't remember who was third, though. I don't know if it was Enric Mas. Was it Garin Thomas? I can't remember. It might have been Garin Thomas third, Mikanda fourth, Enric Mas fifth. I think it was something like that. So yeah, he got third in Giro. He gets fourth in Tour de France. Like he has some good performances. They seem to only perform well also in Grand Tours, and then there it's very 50-50. Except he did perform very well though, at the end of last season, the last race of the season in was it Milano San Remo or something? No, it was Il Lombardia. Sorry, Milano San Remo is the first classic of the year. Il Lombardia, he finished third, I think, which is shocking for a classic. A small group here, still leading group here, with 3.5 kilometers to go. They are pushing very heavily, and people are getting dropped on the flat here, even though the roads are drier, it looks like. And there's an attack from, is that an Aeolo Cometa rider? There's an attack at the front. Lotto Destiny rider, again for like the 10th time this race, has had to bring back all the attacks. But an Intermarché rider is now attacking. Jesus, it's attacks after attacks right now. Well, I guess 3 kilometers away from the finish. Intermarché rider attacking. He's too big for it to be Louis Menkes, I think. Louis Menkes is much smaller rider, so I think it's Louis Menkes. But yeah, the Intermarché riders created the gap here from the group. But he's going to be pulled back. He's going to be swallowed up by the group here. It's impossible. He's going to stay the whole 2.5 kilometers left. To be honest, I said that about Kobe Gosans, and the guys went and won it by over a minute. But that was extremely weird because you still had Alaphilippe, you still had all the Bora riders, everyone still in the peloton, and yet they just didn't seem like they wanted to win the race. None of the riders in the peloton. But as we see here, the Intermarché rider, I think he's creating a bigger gap here. He's attacking. .5 kilometers left of the race. Does he know? Well, he must. He must know that there's a little bit of a punch at the end. He must know. He can't have forgotten that. But it's just very small. It's barely like 200 meters, basically. I think they're going to reach it quite soon here. About a kilometer or so away now. Yeah, the Intermarché rider is still on his own here. If I can count the gap. He's like a solid 5-second gap, I'd say. It doesn't say on the screen, so I kind of have to calculate it myself. I'd say he's got a good 5-second gap here. Maybe more, like a 6 or so. Dangerous here in the last kilometer and a half going through town. Very narrow roads. Not easy to attack on narrow roads here, so that would be very advantageous for the Intermarché rider at the front. But a kilometer to go now, just about. He's probably going to cruise here to victory at this rate. He's looking back, probably sees them. It looks like he's putting a lot more power in the straight. Oh, it's James Shaw. Finally, they haven't really been giving us much information in this race. It wasn't Hugh Carthy this whole time. It was Luke Shaw. I don't even know who he is. I mean, James Shaw. Yeah, this is an easy victory from him. To be honest, these last two races have been so strange. I like I'm so confused with what's been happening in the past few days. But Antemarche rider now in the last 100 meters here up the very steep ramps, and he has won it now. He's going to fight for podium here. Got the Little Destiny rider. Looks like he's on good form here. If a Little Destiny get two podiums in a row, I'd be shocked. But the Intermarché rider won once again. They won with Kirby Gosens yesterday. What's happening with Intermarché? And it's Lotto Destiny in second. That is just, I'm just shocked again, mate. What has happened in these Challenge Mallorca races? Last year you had the big names winning. You had Brendan McNulty, you had Valverde, and now you've got Pro Conti teams winning with these races. I'm just shook right now. I both happy about the fact that these couple races have been shocking, like just been upsets really. But I'm also just worried that this is gonna be a thing for the next couple weeks because it's like the start of the season. But into Marche Rider, I'm gonna have to wait to see the ranking. Well, just to finish the top 10, you finished in the top 10. I'm just shook because, again, this peloton, so to speak, again does their job so poorly. I'm so confused. How just doesn't seem like people are working together in the peloton. It's just everyone's for themselves. Is this gonna be like a new thing in this year, where it's gonna be no organization and no communication between teams? You won it. Who's the Intermarché rider? We'll just have to wait a bit here. Just waiting. Sorry, I'm just waiting a bit to see who these riders are. I'm thinking from now on, I'll put sound on for commentating because or else I'm just going to be continuously confused. So I think from tomorrow onwards. So let's just see who won, who these riders were. Who were these riders who won? I'm still confused with what's been happening past couple of days. Well, as I'm most likely going to, I'm most likely be covering the Marseillaise tomorrow. We can talk a bit about that race while waiting for waiting for the results because I'm still I don't know what's happening. Today has been a very weird race once again. Wait, what? No, it was. I'm so confused. That make Okay, so it was Kirby Gosons, the Intermarché rider who won. Again, this guy, he won two races in a row already. What is going on? And then you had the Lotto Destiny rider in second. But Brandon McNulty was the UAE rider in that small group. And Hugh Carthy was the EF Education rider. So, again, I think the broadcasting team just messed it up completely. He got sixth. So, again, it shows that at least these big riders are slowly coming back here. You got Liliane Calmejane finishing in fourth. A good race. But Kobe Gosons, man, he's going to be a person to look at this season. Seventh, first, and first so far in the three races he's been in. It's 1, 2, and then did the top 10 in the other one in his first race. If you compare it to his last season, when the Tour de France he wasn't really there. To be honest, he was probably helping Louis Menke, so that's to be honest to be expected. He didn't really do much last season. He was probably just a very good teammate to Louis Menkes when needed. But he was the leader of the team during last year's Mallorca challenges, and his best result was fifth, which isn't bad at all. But compared to this season, it is quite bad. So it looks like it's going to be a good year for Kirby Gosons. I'm just shook right now. He's from looks also from his calendar. I'm looking at pro cycling stats here. Calendar for this year. He's going to be in a lot of races and a lot of big ones too. He's going to Volta au Algarve, Paris Nice, Tour de Romandie, Itzulia Basque, Critérium du Dauphiné, and the Tour de France. And he's got big, and they're all stage races. So please, this guy is a stage racer. I'm gonna definitely have an eye on him later on in this year. Well, I think it's more of a performance to forget by Oijablex here. But he's such a likable character. I'm just watching his interview. Can't really hear what he's been saying. But he always seems to have a smile on his face. Like, the guy is a genuinely nice geezer, so. I both hate him and love him. Joao Almeida was ninth. I'm just looking at the results here. It's not bad, but it's definitely not good. But I guess due to the weather, the Belgians were probably a bit more suited to this. Or maybe their preseason, they had their preseason a bit rougher weather, and these other big name GC riders had their preseason in warmer weathers. Yeah, well, I guess today was again another strange race, as I said many times today. I just hope this isn't the norm. I want it to happen sometimes. I don't want this to be the norm. It'd be weird. So yeah, hopefully tomorrow in the Marseillaise, things will be very different. So, well, hopefully I'll do another watch along tomorrow for La Marseillaise. If not, it'll be Tuesday for the start of La Volta Comunidad, which I really am excited for because Mikel Landa's going to be there. and it's, I think, a bit more of a punchy climbing race, which I'm excited for as well. There's gonna be some big riders as well. Vlasov, I think, is in it. You've got Per Bilbao, which is gonna be a threat for Mikel Landa as a leader. I'm slightly worried about that. Don't know who the hell is going to be leading the team between him and Per Bilbao, I think. Is he Per Bilbao? Is he in the race? Volta Comunidad? I have to check on the calendar. Volta Comunidad Valenciana. Yeah, he is. But you got some strong. You got Leonard Kemna. You got. They also have Caruso, Bahrain. So really, that's just a weird start list from Bahrain here. To literally bring their three best climbers, GC riders in this race. Maybe two max, but never three. But then you also have Juan Ayuso, you got Vlasov as well as Leonard Kamena, for the GC. Looking around, see who could do that cruise. Sam Oman could be fun. An outsider. Dunbar could be an outsider as well. So yeah, some good riders, good stages, good races. So hopefully do watch along tomorrow or be Tuesday. I'm very excited for Tuesday. I'm just looking at the profile just before, and there's some decent climbing. Probably the smallest amount of climbs at the whole race, but I'm excited. So yeah, hopefully see you tomorrow. Thanks. It was a good race.